Alright, I am just completely taken aback, right? Because I didn't think that GORR was going to be this good, but he has genuinely surprised me. So first, let's go over the buff information that you need to know about. The Undermine duration went from 9 seconds to 16 seconds at max sig from a signature ability, and that is a great increase, right? That is like a pretty substantial increase. It just makes the Undermine a lot more practical overall. So yeah. Here's the big one though. The Shadow Magic buff duration went from 20 seconds to 30 seconds. That is massive. Like a 10-second difference is honestly game changing for GORR. Like that is such a huge change, and this is like why the buff is so good, to be honest. And lastly, the Shadow Magic buff cap went from 3 in the old beta to 4 in the live server, which is pretty good. It just lets you like stack up more Shadow Magic so you can do more damage from DOT. So yeah, overall a very good buff. Now let's go into some gameplay. So first, let's get a quick damage test in Realm of Legends. One thing to note here is that I am not running any synergies throughout the whole entire video. Not just this one fight, like the entire video, I'm not going to run synergies at all. Additionally, I'm also going to be not running the Recoil Masteries, so this is just like pure regular GORR, right? This is what you're getting from a 565 Sig 120 GORR. So yeah, the rotation I'm going to use is, you want to like build up your Shadow Magics by like spamming light attacks, and then you want to go for an SP3, then you want to just heavy attack to get more power, then go for another SP3, but that SP3 will be like supercharged. It will be like very, very strong, right? So that's the rotation I'm going for here. I'm just not dropping the SP2 at all. So yeah, it makes for a pretty solid fight time overall though. Like in Battlegrounds, it's going to be pretty insane, like how fast you can take down fights. So yeah, I think he's going to be a very good Battlegrounds character, a very good General Quester as well. Just like a lot of uses for this guy overall. I feel like his utility is a bit too niche to be like good in endgame content, like, you know, Eternity Pain, Grandmaster's Gauntlet. But he's a very solid character when it comes to like Battlegrounds and just general questing. So that's pretty good, right? Like Battlegrounds is a very relevant form of content. And I already dropped the first SP3, so now I'm just going to go for the second one here. I build up the power gain, and now it's time to finally finish off this fight. We can see that I have a ton of damage over time deals. I had like 80-something there. And then we go for the SP3 here, and it just wipes him out. Just like that. That was a 251,000 SP3, man. Absolutely crazy. And that was 120 as well for a 565 GORR the God Butcher. Pretty great stuff there. And now I'm going to show some utility in Act 8. This is a node where you like get auto-blocked a lot, but GORR has access to Undermine. But then I realized that the auto-block goes away if you have a lot of buffs as well. So this is like kind of a mix, right? I'm showing both the Undermine and the fact that he has a lot of buffs. But yeah, this is just a very clean fight overall. GORR counters it in like every single way. GORR's utility, in my personal opinion, a bit on the lighter side, right? But the things he does very, very well now. Like, at first, his Undermine used to suck, right? It used to just be terrible, even at max egg, because it just lasted, like, so little, right? It didn't last long at all. But now it lasts up to 16 seconds. That's, like, pretty substantial, man. A 16-second auto-block counter is pretty great, especially because, like, Penny Parker can't counter it at all, and there's, like, no one else that can counter it, pretty much. Like, Super Scroll has it as well, and I think that's, like, his best thing. So, yeah, very, very solid, like, increase of the duration there. And this fight was just very clean overall. The SP3, of course, is going to finish him off because, you know, it's a supercharged SP3. So, yeah, pretty nice fight. And now let's go into some more auto block. This is the 6th Sense node. This node is super annoying, in my opinion, because, like, it's just auto block all the time, no matter what you do, and it sucks. It's just really annoying. But GORR, of course, has access to Undermine, and he's gonna have it for the entire fight. Like, notice the Undermine in this fight. It will not leave us once, and that is just crazy good, man. This isn't even max sig. I'm missing like 80 sigs on GORR right here, and it's still enough. It's still enough to like last for the entire fight. It is just really, really impressive in my opinion, and I also forgot that this node has shock vulnerability, so just keep that in mind, that my damage might be a little bit like inflated, but that's not why I'm doing this fight, right? I'm doing it because I'm showing the auto block counter. So yeah, we go for the first SP3 here. Luke Cage has bleed immunity, so it gets transformed into a degen, and I really like that about GORR. I like that GORR transforms the damage over time debuffs to degens if like the opponent is immune to one. That lets him keep up his damage output, and it lets him like just keep doing his regular damage. So yeah, very solid thing there that he has. This guy's kit is just much better than I thought, to be honest. Like, much, much better than I thought. We go for the second SP3 here, and doesn't wipe him out, but really close, right? Act 8 health pools are pretty huge, so, you know, it's understandable. But yeah, pretty great auto block counter, in my opinion. And now I just want to show his access to debuffs, because besides the Undermine, he doesn't have the most utility, but the things he does very, very consistently, right? And one of those things is just applying a ton of debuffs on the opponent, like a shock, for example, right? So this is Selective Timestream, where the opponent regens all their health and removes all the debuffs unless they have a shock or incinerate on them. So GORR, of course, has access to shock, a very simple shock, right? And it lasts a very long time. So he can just completely wipe this node down without any hesitation. And it's just a very straightforward GORR fest here. Oscillate is kind of like messing us up because, you know, if the opponent is passive, then we lose out on our Shadow Magic uptime, which is a bit annoying. That's like one kind of downside I have with GORR, is if the opponent plays passive, you really start to like notice like the Shadow Magics fall off. But honestly, that was only for like old GORR, because old GORR had like 0 duration on his Shadow Magics, but new GORR has like 30 seconds. So there's like a lot of like leeway when it comes to his buff uptime. So the fight is going pretty good so far. Another thing I forgot to mention is that GORR can inflict his debuffs through block, which is a pretty nice utility. It's just like an extra way to apply the debuffs. Like if the opponent is playing passive, you can just like strike their block and still get the debuffs up and still get your damage increased. Pretty good stuff there. And now we're going to go for the SP3, and it just one-shots him, of course. So yeah, pretty awesome stuff. Now this node is honestly really interesting. You get stifled whenever you hit the opponent, and it doesn't trigger if you have a lot of buffs on you, right? So GORR, of course, has a lot of buffs on him. But one thing here I didn't really like is that, you know, I got shocked, and usually I can just willpower heal it, but GORR doesn't have access to willpower. And I honestly forgot about that, but now that I realize it, I'm a bit upset, but honestly, it's fine, right? Like, there's always flaws to the character. I just don't understand why they had to do it, though. Just give him the vicious passives and let him keep the willpower mastery, man. Like, it's that simple. But no, they're just like, no, he would be too good with it, which is not true. He would be perfectly fine with willpower. There's no reason to take it away from him, right? It's just unfortunate, but, you know, still a pretty awesome character regardless. And we go for the SP3 here. We have to time it well with the Fate Seal because, I don't want to, like, lose any power. I don't want to lose all my buffs. That'll be, like, the worst thing ever. Of course, GORR's weakness is, like, Fate Seal, Nullify, all those things. Like any usual Cosmic character. But yeah, just one-shots him again. And then I want to show one more thing, because this thing is a bit, like, underrated for GORR. It's his ability to just, like, shut off healing 100%. And this is mainly due to his access to poison and just the amount of debuffs he has, paired with the Despair Mastery. Like, it's so, like, insane just how fast he, like, shuts off healing. Right there. That's all it took. It took a double medium and just, like, a hit into the block, and now she cannot heal anymore. That is just pretty crazy stuff. Like, honestly impressive. And, this is just another good piece of utility that he has, right? Like, an access to a lot of debuffs is pretty much always a good thing. Sometimes it's bad, like Redoubled Determination. That can kind of, like, mess him up, of course, because of, like, the increased combat power rate and the increased attack rating. But besides that, it's just a pretty nice utility to have, in my opinion. So yeah, GORR, man, I don't know. I'm a big fan. I know there's a lot of hype around this guy. I'm just, like, kind of feeding into it, but I don't really care. He's just a very good character. He deserves it, to be honest. So yeah, big fan of GORR. This SP3 should just send her to the Shadow Realm, which it does. So yeah, just a very, very awesome time. And that's going to wrap up the showcase, actually. So let me know your thoughts on GORR the God Butcher. For me, I think it is a great buff. I think it's a well-needed buff, and it just, like, really changes the character, in my opinion. Like, it's crazy how, like, such a little value changes can do so much for a champion, right? So yeah, overall, very great buff. I still want to cover the America Chavez one as well. It probably won't be as impressive as this one, but it still could be a very good buff. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on GORR the God Butcher, and that's about it for me.